I think there's a danger in analyzing this of spending too much time on January 6th and not enough time on the days and weeks and months leading up to this. I think on that day it would probably be superhuman to have gotten the National Guard there in 20 minutes or 30 minutes. You might have, but I think the Capitol would have been breached and we would have been coming in after the fact no matter how good you were. I think really there's a judgment question about whether or not we should have had more people there. In retrospect, we all agree there should have been more people there. But really, this is the judgment that should call into question predating that. Should we have had more Capitol Hill police there? My understanding is over 1,000 Capitol Hill police that were either off duty or not here, that could have, and probably in retrospect, better judgment would have had them in there, and we would have had riot lines, and we might have prevented this from happening. So I think we can talk all we want about January 6th, but really it's the decision-making leading up to that. Someone made a bad judgment call, and we need to be better prepared. If we're going to fix this in the future, it isn't about calling the National Guard out quicker. It's about having 1,000 people standing there before the riot happens so the riot doesn't happen. So that's where the real mistake is, and I think we can get too bogged down on the details of January 6th and forget about what could have actually fixed this. Ms. Sanborn, in the investigation afterwards, did the FBI or any intelligence gathering entity of government subpoena, request, or issue a warrant for non-individualized phone and credit card records for anyone on Capitol Hill on January?
Welcome back to the channel if you care about your constitutional rights. Senator Rand Paul just put the FBI on the hot seat. During a heated exchange with Jill Sanborn, Senator Paul slammed the lack of preparation before the Capitol riot. He argued that more Capitol police officers on the ground could have stopped the breach. Shifting focus, Paul questioned the FBI's massive data sweeps, warning about Fourth Amendment violations. He stressed the need for specific evidence, not broad dragnets. Sanborn admitted the use of geolocation data but couldn't confirm if entities like Bank of America were involved. Paul demanded fairness, severe penalties for violent offenders, but no infringement on constitutional rights. This debate raises a crucial question. How do we balance security and liberty? What do you think?
I don't have the specific answer to a specific subpoena, but I do know that we've issued lots of subpoenas and lots of search warrants as a result of each of those individuals.
Yeah, my question's not towards individuals. Like if you see John Smith on a video, I'm fine with looking at his records. My question is, did you have a generalized collection of data about people who were on the Hill on January 6th?
Not that I'm aware of. I do know that we have used data, and this is reflected in some of the charging documents that had geolocation data. I don't know the background for what the underlying predicate was for that search warrant, but I do know that we obtained geolocation data. I just don't have the predicate.
Do you understand the potential problem here if you gather everybody's data and then start searching through it and looking for people who might have done something wrong, as opposed to the traditional law enforcement where we think John Smith is on a video breaking into the Capitol. Now we want to look at his records and see if he was there to help prove he was there. I think that's a reasonable request. But we have had articles written about the Bank of America sharing all of people's credit card information. What I need to know is, did you request it? Did you subpoena it? Did the Bank of America just decide they don't care about the privacy of their customers and just upload everybody's data? These are important questions. The Fourth Amendment's out there to protect against generalized searches. And I think you know the importance. Most people in law enforcement know the importance of you individualize. We're all fine with that. But there are even reports that elected members of Congress's phone calls, records, as well as credit card records are in some of this data. Have you heard of that or seen any of that?
I don't have any specifics on that, sir. I'm happy to follow up.
All right. So if we want to get the answer, we just need to direct it to the director of the FBI.
I mean, you can direct it. I'm happy to follow up and answer the question for you.
Right, but you have not personally seen any of that or seen any cross-referencing of records between a general category to try to find individuals as opposed to have an individual and then looking at data?
No, again, sir, I don't know what went into the background for the application for the search warrant, so I would like to follow up and get you that detail. And I do know that we did receive information from private partners. I'd also like to follow up on that specific detail about Bank of America for you as well.
But you don't know the answer?
I do not.
Okay. Well, I think it's very important.
I just-
Everybody wants to get to the bottom of this, but it's also very important that we not have some huge dragnet that everybody that went shopping on January 6th in D.C. is now a suspect and going to be charged with some kind of conspiracy that could be 20 years in prison. So as we do the investigation, it's important that those who committed violence are treated accordingly and given significant penalties. But I think it's also important that those of us who have been for criminal justice reform, for poor, underrepresented people in our cities, also want the same kind of justice here, that we're not charging people with crimes that are 20 years for doing something that was admittedly wrong and they should be punished for. But there's a difference between assaulting a policeman and causing bodily harm, which I think requires jail time, and being present at the Capitol. And I worry that if we're going to look at everybody's phone shopping records and 20,000 people were here, I hope that's not what's going on, is that we're looking for anybody in D.C. and we're going to just develop a case out of nothing without having seen them actually commit some sort of crime.
Yes, sir, totally understand. I would like to follow up on both of those. Again, I'm not clear on what went into the application for the phone data. I do know we have phone data. I am aware of the Bank of America situation and would like to follow up in detail with you on that.
Right. And my suspicion is it was got in a generalized way because we have very little concern for individual privacy anymore. And the warrant requirements and some of the court precedents allow the FBI to gather this. It's just something I object to, but gathering things in a large way, not specific to an individual, not specific to probable cause, and not specific to someone alleged to have found a crime, but more a dragnet of, hey, let's just look at all the phone data on Capitol Hill. And I want you to know that there are at least some of us in this country who don't like that.